Now, the concerned Ghanaians for Responsible Governance first launched a campaign on 1st July 2014 to press government to improve on economic and living conditions of Ghanaians. Since then, the group has used social media and mainstream media to urge reforms in vital sectors of the Ghana. And come Friday, August 29, 2014, this group says this time is turning attention to the need for urgent electoral reforms ahead of the general elections in 2016. Occupy Flags of House is using Red Friday hashtag, that is August 29, 2014, to engage the Electoral Commission and other stakeholders on the subject of recommendations from the Supreme Court. Let's talk about this now over the next few minutes. George Anti is with the group. He's Executive Secretary for the Concerned Ghanaians for Responsible Governance. He's here with me in the studio. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kemi.
So what is it this time?
Well, this time it's electoral reform, electoral reform, electoral reform. Yes. You already know that we have positioned ourselves as a political watchdog, as the citizen's voice. So, tomorrow would be exactly 1 year since the Supreme Court delivered its verdict on the election petition. And contained in that verdict were some recommendations made by the presiding judge as regards electoral reform, the need for electoral reform. The learned judge went as far as even suggesting, some of the things that could be taken into account, in these electoral reforms, looking into the next general election. So 1 year on, we're asking EC what has been done.
You don't think anything has been done? We've seen some consultative meetings with the political parties. At least at that level, one would imagine that is commitment.
Well, if you looked at the press release that we put out, we did commend the EC on its consultations with the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC. But what we are saying is that looking at the nature of the errors that plagued the 2012 election, we believe that these consultations should be broader. Because if you look at stakeholders in elections, it's not just political parties. What of the people who do not align themselves with any one particular political party, the party of floating voters? What happens to them? They should be consulted. We are talking of reforms. The reforms are not reforms of the persons that occupy the EC. It's a reform of the institution of the EC and of the rules that govern the elections. So we are looking at Parliament, obviously. Have these people been consulted? There are several other stakeholders when you talk of a general election. So what we are calling for is broader participation, broader stakeholder consultation. We are not saying the EC hasn't done anything. That would be very unfair. But we want to know what exactly has been done, what challenges the EC has faced so far, and how we can all chip in.
So what form is this one taking?
Well, it's a public forum. So we have Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, who is a renowned constitutional law expert, who will be delivering the keynote speech on the subject, the 2012 election petition, the status of recommendations for electoral reform. Thereafter, we have a panel of eminent Ghanaians. We have one representative from CODEO, we have another from the Peace Council, and then we have representation from the NDC and NPP legal teams that were the main parties, the main actors in the election petition of 2012, to discuss this topic and also to discuss the speech that would be delivered by Professor Prempeh. Thereafter, we would have interactions with participants. It's a public forum, so it's open to everybody. We'll get a question and answer time. We'll get time for people to make contributions, and at the end of the day, we would issue a communique. And let me be quick to add to that, we have sent out an invitation to the Electoral Commission, that we want to hear their side of the story too. We want a representative, to respond, to the discussions. So at the end of the day, we would get participants coming in, asking questions, making contributions, and then we'll issue a communique that will be presented to the Electoral Commission.
When are we looking at, when will this happen?
That would be tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the Alisa Hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
So we organizing this public forum. That's pretty different from what we've seen so far from the group.
Yeah. You know, we have always put out there that we would use every avenue that is afforded us by the laws of this country to make our voices heard. So it's not only street protests that are going to be used. There are several other dilemma actions that you know, citizens can employ to make the relevant authorities listen to their voices. This public forum is one. So, you know, this is just a demonstration of our commitment to use all the avenues that are afforded us by law.
I see. Thank you very much, George, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
George Anti is the Executive Secretary for the Concerned Ghanaians for Responsible Governance. Now, the National Nasser Coordinator of the NPP, Kamal Dean Abdullahi, has been telling Joy News all is set for the Super Delegates Conference of the party this weekend. He spoke to Joy News earlier.
To say that, yes, the election is going to be conducted by Electoral Commission. The security agencies, as in police, have actually been informed adequately, and they have given their word to ensure that nothing untoward happens at the various centers throughout the country. So what I do know is that the police is involved. They're going to give us massive security. And of course, you see, there isn't so much fears about it, because when you look at this delegates conference, which is special, of course, in nature, it's not got sheer numbers involving or coming in to cast their votes. We've got, on regional basis, I believe, I cannot give you off-head what is going to happen. But in the region I am going, for instance, just about 30-something people will be casting their votes. I was surprised if there will be any confusion there. So given the number of delegates that we're going to use, given the nature of it, I don't see concerns for security.
There's more to come here on News Today. Political analysts over the years have talked about the need to have a national development plan. The argument has always been that party manifestos is certainly not a way for a developing country like Ghana as far as economic growth is concerned. It is against this background that the National Development Planning Commission has become literally a candle in the dark, following the passing on of PV Obim. President Mahama has appointed Dr. Kwesi Botche, who is Ghana's longest-serving finance minister, and was a PNDC secretary for finance, and also became Minister for Finance and Economic Planning following the transition to constitutional rule in 1992. He is the new chair of the commission. With his experience, what should be the expectation of many Ghanaians? There has been a little over 1.6 million successful ports by mobile phone subscribers from one network to another since the introduction of the service in July 2011. Figures released by the National Communications Authority in the third anniversary of the mobile number portability also shows the time taken to port has improved sustainably or substantially to 4 minutes.
Number portability, which was introduced in July 2011 by the National Communications Authority, was to allow subscribers change from one network to another while keeping their numbers. The report shows that 72% of those who switched networks actually stayed with the operator they ported to. Tigo was the biggest gainer of the number of subscribers that switched, as 249,725 subscribers joined their network. Vodafone was next with 228,183, while MTN lost about 402,000 subscribers over the 3-year period. Airtel lost 58,687. Expresso saw about 858 moving out of the network, while Glo also lost 16,119 over the past 3 years.
Bob Palace is mobile number portability consultant for the National Communication Authority. He's joined me over the telephone. You're welcome to the program, Bob.
Just let me straighten out. I'm not authorized to speak for NCA, but I'm happy to talk to you about mobile number portability.
Very well. Now, what will be your assessment 3 years down the line?
It's been a remarkable success. The number of people who ported each month and each year, and in the 3 years cumulative, has far exceeded our original planning estimates, and we're very pleased with that. We have to remember that the purpose of MNP, portability, is not to force people to move. It is that we have a competitive market here. There are 6 different mobile operators, and sometimes people want to move either because they're dissatisfied about some aspect of their present service, or they're attracted to some offer, promotion, or feature of some other network. And if they were reluctant to move because of the cost and expense and inconvenience of changing their number, mobile number portability solves that single problem for them.
We also see that the time involved to be able to port successfully has improved over the 3-year period. Why was it necessary to improve the time period?
Our goal from the beginning, even though we didn't achieve it at the beginning, was that people should be able to have the entire porting process done and have the system working all while they are still in the shop or with the agent of the network that they're seeking to join. That way they don't have to run back and forth. There's no need for follow-up, and people know that it's working before they're even gone. It engenders trust in the process and trust in what the operators and Porting Access Ghana are doing together to make this happen. So in the beginning, in order to launch portability quickly, we were not too strict regarding how quickly porting would happen. After the first year, we installed quality of service standards and required all of the operators to have automatic systems to respond to porting requests quickly. And it is that and the working with the operators and the operators all working together to make sure these systems run smoothly that produce the increase in speed.
Now, Bob, tell me something. In the future, how do we look forward to mobile number portability changing services given to mobile subscribers?
We already have a market here that has 6 different operators. And every operator, since they all offer mobile service, each operator has to find a way to differentiate its offerings from those of its competitors. And I think as the operators do such things, as they do promotions, as they introduce new features, as they perhaps increase coverage, then all of these things will create a desire for some people to change networks. And also, if a network happens to fall down badly and has interruptions in service or problems with coverage, then a certain number of people will want to move that. MNP, again, is ready to fulfill its sole role. If anybody wants to move networks for any other reason, any reason at all, whether they are running away from something or running towards something, they don't have to worry about changing their number. And this is what we are there for. If tomorrow double the number of people wanted to port, we are ready. If tomorrow half the number of people wanted to port because people became more satisfied with their service, that's okay too.
But
we
Bob,
are there as a facility for people to choose.
Does mobile number portability necessarily change what mobile service providers give subscribers? Does it necessarily change anything?
Well, there is no scientific way to measure how much of the competitive actions in the market are due to number portability and how many are simply due to the fact that each operator is competing against 5 other operators. There is no way to know how much of their activity is one versus the other. I will tell you this, every one of the operators took notice of the fact that their longest serving customers, the ones who had their numbers for a long time and were very attached to their numbers, could now leave. I expect that each of them took some action to try and retain those customers, and other networks took action to try and attract such customers from other networks. But again, it would be wrong to make any conclusions about the percent of impact because there is no way to measure that when you already have 6 operators.
Bob, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Bob Parles is mobile number portability consultant. I love you for what's trending in business. I'll return with some sports. Now, the Ghana FA has confirmed that the game against Uganda Cranes in the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier will be played on September 6th. The Chief Executive Officer of the Uganda FA says that their counterparts in Ghana had communicated that they have moved the game by a day instead of the earlier date of September 5. In their last meeting at the same stadium in an AFCON qualifier, the Cranes held the Black Stars to a 1-1 draw in 2003. The Cranes, who last qualified for AFCON in 1978, have already embarked on training ahead of the match and will have a build-up away to Niger on September 2. Guinea and Togo are the other teams in Group E of the AFCON qualifiers. Well, in some more news, the Volta region of Ghana has so far recorded 5 cholera-related deaths, with the disease prevalent in 5 districts of that region. About 94 cases of cholera have so far been recorded in the region. And here in the Greater Accra region, over 60 deaths have been recorded from the outbreak. The situation, according to health officials, is because the public is failing to adhere to basic sanitary measures and education campaigns. Hubert Maudi is a Volta regional correspondent. He's joined me over the telephone. Let's get a quick update on this. Hello, Hubert. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What more can you tell us about the situation in the Volta region?
So far, the death toll in the Volta region has risen from 2 to 5, and the spread from the district, that's from Ketu South District, specifically Aflau, where it started, it has now spread to at least 4 more districts and municipalities of the Volta region. They are the Ketu South District, Home Municipality, the Ketu South Municipality, Home Municipality, the whole West District, Ketu North, and Kwanta South Districts. Those are the areas affected so far by the cholera outbreak. The death toll, as I said earlier, is 5 as we speak, and more than 200 cases have been recorded in our health facilities
in Accra. In Accra, the situation, the outbreak has been blamed on insanitary conditions here with regards to our management of waste in the capital city. In the Volta region, what's been the reason given for the outbreak?
Especially in the Ketu South District, that is one of the reasons being cited, the insanitary conditions in the area. Aflau is a major border town along the coast, the southeastern coast of the country, and there seems to be a lot of problem in terms of sanitation along the coastline there. In that of Whole Municipality, Whole West, Ketu North, not much has been said as to the reasons for the spread so far, but we know there is so much of interactions between the people right from the south to the central part of the region, for which Ho is the capital. So for now, we can say that the conditions cut across.
Right, Hubert, what are the efforts that the health directorates in that part of the country are putting in to deal with the situation? The numbers keep going up.
Yes. In response to the outbreak, the Regional Health Directorate and the District Health Directorate of the Ghana Health Service have intensified their education by educating people on radio in the various communities. They are also engaging market women and food vendors, especially through the efforts of the whole Rotary Club. They are collaborating with the whole Rotary Club to go into almost all the communities affected so far to educate people about hygienic practices that could help in preventing a further spread of the outbreak.
And what's been the reaction so far? Because since the last reported case, it's gone up quite substantially.
Yeah, the response has been good, and at each of the points, at least in the Home Municipality, which was the first of such an outreach program by Rotary Club in collaboration with the health authorities, the market women came out quite in great numbers to listen to the pieces of advice being given by these technocrats in a way to forestall the further spread of the disease. And most of them have been responsive in terms of their participation in these meetings for education to ensure that the disease does not spread further in the region.
I see we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much, Hubert. Hubert Mauli is a correspondent in the Volta region.